Welcome to In Self. My name's Chris, and today I want to talk to you about a conversation I had with a lady called Claire. And in fact, we went beyond just a conversation, and we ended up having a what we call a structural tarot reading with her. But basically, she wrote to me saying how much anger and resentment she had been feeling towards Prince Andrew in the interview, and how she'd been let down because he was a real idol of her. But she also went on to say that she was, feeling more and more angry about the world. And it kind of got me thinking, we are so inundated with events around the world, whether or not, it's in Australia, there's huge amounts of drought around the country. Farmers are losing their farm. We've had an enormous amount of bushfires where thousands of people lost their homes. In Africa and Europe, there's the refugee crisis. There's war. There's the Trump impeachment, fiasco. There's fires in California. I mean, you don't have to go far to be overwhelmed by, natural disasters, climate change, displacement on millions and millions of people's lives. And I kind of went, well, at what point do we draw a line and say, well, I need to take control about how I actually feel about, my life. And, I don't want it just to be, full of resentment and anger and despair. So with Claire, her comment was, she felt that she was losing, grip on reality, and that, she was losing, control about how she was actually living her life, and she was being controlled, if you like, by all of this news. And so what I wanted to do with her was I wanted to give her a couple of options in how she wanted to see, different situations or events in her life. And with tarot cards, my sort of angle with tarot cards is not from a point of view of thinking that I have a divine spirit or connection. I use tarot cards to gently knock on different doors within our unconscious mind to allow us to kind of enter rooms that we may not previously be aware of. And by having the tarot cards form a narrative, we can actually explore things that we possibly wouldn't be able to explore in a certain way. And so what I wanted to do with Claire was for her to actually see Prince Andrew in a different light, or see the event that he had been involved with in a different light, so she could feel about it differently. And so what you're going to see is the reading I gave Claire. As I've just mentioned, this is a structured tarot reading. What that is that Claire didn't believe that the tarot possessed any divination or any mystical powers, and that's fine. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to use the tarot as a tool to kind of knock on unconscious doors within Claire's mind and kind of enter different rooms that held different narratives and different qualities and different capabilities within her. And what I find is the tarot allows me to have a rich engagement with my client, but also allows that person to have a tangible kind of connection with different areas of their life. So the first card was the Tower. Now, this wasn't really an external event. This was an internal event of Claire. This was actually, something within her dramatically changed. And that was actually her self-esteem and how she actually saw, her ability to judge people. And that gave her, quite a lot of internal conflict. But also, a lot of her challenges we found out was that she put people on a too high a pedestal. So with Prince Andrew, she kind of set herself up to fail because she thought that the guy was just, was perfect. He represented all the good things about, the human race. And the thing is that we kind of discovered that her beliefs were so kind of strong or rigid to some extent that quite often that she found herself backed into a corner that she was unable to get out of, because she felt that she had to kind of defend her beliefs and her values, on a constant basis. Otherwise, she thought that she was being, a fraud to herself, that she wasn't being truthful to herself. And that, having, these strong-held beliefs, or this ability to not be able to change her beliefs, kind of was given her, again, this enormous amount of internal conflict, because we have to constantly change with what's happening with our life. Whereas she actually thought that by forming strict beliefs about things, that she could actually control the events in her life, and that's just going to set us up for failure. But also I said to her, look, there's no weakness in seeking help, and in fact there is a strength in being vulnerable. And that single comment kind of changed the lens and filter of how she actually saw herself, because she saw herself as being really, really independent, and she thought being independent was a very, very strong attribute. But if you're too rigid, then you can't be flexible. But also, there is a strength in actually asking for help. And by asking for help, you actually bring in different people within your life. And actually allowing people to help you, what you're doing is allowing people to care for you and to love you. And to feel people's compassion towards you is actually a beautiful thing in somebody's life. And therefore, by sort of seeing that help wasn't a weakness, she was able to actually put to bed certain ideas about having strict ideas, or having a strict sense of being independent. And that from that, she could see that she was indeed, or had put people on too high pedestals, and that people are, not perfect. But in the case of Prince Andrew, if he has indeed, been involved in underage sex and abusing people for sex, or just lied about his life, then he's going to have to face that. He's going to have to face justice. But that's really, being angry about that might serve us to actually form, get up and form a behaviour and actually act on that. But to constantly live in anger, to constantly live in resentment, that isn't any way to live. And that, unfortunately, Claire was, going down that road of just being angry all the time. And, the thing is, I said to her, look, I actually feel sorry about Prince Andrew's soul, because at some level he's going to have to face up of what he's done. And the thing as well is that, the people around him, his daughters, the people that, trusted him, he's let them down. And so, you now have, these victims or casualties about his actions, let alone the victims that he might have actually engaged sex with. But at the end of the day, I don't want to feel angry all the time, because I can't feel compassion or feel love for the people around me. And so it's a matter of me taking control or responsibility about how I see this. And so I choose to feel sorry for Prince Andrew's soul and feel sorry for the people that he's hurt. But that allows me to see the situation differently. And for Claire, that actually was a kind of an eye-opener of that, she could take responsibility. She could take, information in a certain way and use it in a way that was going to serve her better. And so the last card I gave Claire was the Page of Cups. Now, for me, this is about optimism. This is about being a little bit frivolous. This is about bringing the little girl back into her life. It's about, having thoughts that bring us joy. If you want to believe that there are pixies at the bottom of your garden and they bring you joy, then, believe away. We can have thoughts that are fanciful. We can indulge in the fanciful if we want. It's a matter of, escapism. It's enjoying things for the sake of enjoyment. And for her, you kind of seen that, she thought that values had to be important, and the importance of putting Prince Andrew on a pedestal, that, she had somebody to look up to. And that's important too, but it's not, it's not the only way that you can live your life. And so she saw that she had actually placed herself in quite a narrow area where she, all values and beliefs had to be of importance, or high, they were kind of very serious. And anything outside that, or anything, that didn't have a serious nature, then was worthless. And by bringing back the little girl, she could start to actually allow herself to fail. She could believe in things or have thoughts that actually brought her joy. And by doing that, you can have conversations about things that, are just whimsical. And it brings back that beautiful kind of lightness to her life. And it's changed her dramatically. She dresses differently today. She doesn't take herself as seriously. And yes, she still sees things in life that, are tragic, and, she still wants to help, but not at the sacrifice of her life.